Holy buckets, the situation under center is completely settled for now, but the drama is far from over in the Twin Cities. Our head coach just put his foot down and named the undisputed starter to kick off the regular season after a very heated camp competition. The losing player simply struggled too much to earn the trust of the staff right now. However, insiders are already predicting exactly when the highly debated backup could take the reins back if the new starter fails to deliver during a brutal 5-game stretch early this year. Head coach Kevin O'Connell finally settled the most debated question of the summer on Tuesday by naming KYLER Murray the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. This decision marks the end of a high-stakes competition under center, effectively placing the team's offense in the hands of the veteran for the upcoming season opener. J.J. McCarthy, who struggled to establish himself after appearing in 10 games last year, failed to secure the top spot following an inaccurate start to training camp. Fans have been anxious about this position battle for weeks, and while the coaching staff maintains a belief in McCarthy's long-term potential, the reality is that the front office needed a proven leader to guide us through a difficult opening schedule. Here's the thing nobody wants to say. While we all want the younger talent to flourish, the team simply cannot afford a slow start against the Packers and Bears. Murray's playing on a one-year deal, which puts significant pressure on him to perform right out of the gate. If he stumbles during our early games or struggles against teams like the Buccaneers, the conversation about switching back to McCarthy will inevitably intensify before the Week 7 meeting with the Colts. We are essentially betting on a short-term solution while keeping a close eye on the future. The real challenge now is whether Murray can prove he is the man for the job before the bye week, or if the organization will be forced to pivot to our former first-round pick sooner than anyone expected. Can our offensive line give him enough time to prove his worth? A drastically inaccurate performance throughout training camp ultimately forced the coaching staff to abandon their long-term developmental plan for our younger signal caller. The bottom line here is that our front office opted for immediate stability over potential, because the team simply cannot survive another season of inconsistent production under center. While we hold on to hope for the former Michigan standout, he remains a prospect with only 10 games of professional experience. We need someone who can manage the huddle right now. The organization clearly views this transition as a necessary evil to keep our window of competitiveness open, despite the fact that this veteran choice is tied to a precarious one-year financial commitment. Think about the history of this position for us. We have seen these bridge gap scenarios play out frequently, and they rarely end with a long-term franchise anchor unless the player delivers against divisional opponents immediately. Our staff recognizes that the pressure is mounting, which is precisely why they refuse to hand the keys to a project player before he demonstrates true command. Behind closed doors, leadership is likely emphasizing that we have no luxury for growing pains when the schedule presents such difficult early tests. If our new starter falters against the Packers or fails to show progress before the bye, the narrative will shift toward the younger arm in a heartbeat. It is a calculated gamble aimed at stabilizing our win column, yet every single fan knows that patience wears thin once the regular season hits full speed. We are watching a high-stakes experiment where every throw matters for both the veteran and his immediate backup. Moving past the headline decision itself, we need to consider the practical weight of this announcement on our upcoming season. The truth is, naming a starter this early serves as a clear signal from the front office that we are prioritizing immediate results to navigate a brutal opening stretch of the schedule. By locking in our signal caller before the roster is even finalized, the coaching staff is effectively closing the book on the summer uncertainty to ensure the entire locker room is aligned on the offensive identity. This move forces us to look squarely at those back-to-back clashes with the Packers and Bears, games that will define our early division standing and shape our path to a potential postseason berth. If we struggle against those divisional rivals or fail to handle business against the Buccaneers in Week 3, the pressure on this veteran-led offense will skyrocket, especially since our backup remains a developmental prospect waiting in the wings. While some fans might worry about the lack of long-term security tied to a single-season contract, seeing a definitive leader in the huddle provides a much-needed sense of urgency that we frankly lacked during those inconsistent offensive showings last year. We are essentially sacrificing the luxury of a slow burn for the hope that we can beat the Dolphins and Saints before the Week 6 bye. If we find ourselves lagging behind in the standings by the time we host the Colts, the conversation will naturally turn toward the future, putting every single snap under a microscope as we weigh the value of veteran stability against the promise of our younger talent. By choosing this veteran, our front office secures a signal caller who can immediately command the huddle and handle the complexities of our aggressive opening schedule. This stability is the primary argument in his favor, as we simply cannot afford to have a learning curve when we face top-tier divisional rivals like the Packers and Bears in back-to-back weeks. And here's why that's a big deal. The veteran presence mitigates the risk of a disastrous start that could bury our playoff hopes before mid-October even arrives. However, we must acknowledge the inherent danger here because this is a one-year arrangement that lacks long-term security. If the results do not manifest right away, we are essentially stuck in a precarious limbo where we have neither a cemented future at the position nor a guaranteed present. Outside observers, including pundits who have pointed toward Tampa Bay's Baker Mayfield as a potential 2027 target, are watching closely to see if we might pivot if things go sideways. Some insiders suggest that if this short-term experiment falters before the bye, the organization will be forced to reconsider the developmental timeline of our backup. The way I see it, leaning on a one-year deal feels like a stopgap that could backfire if the locker room senses any hesitation during those first 5 games. While I appreciate the desire for immediate victories, I worry that we are discounting the internal growth our younger quarterback has shown in camp. If the veteran cannot outduel Mayfield in Week 3 or stumbles against the Saints, the clamor for change will be impossible to ignore as we prepare for the Colts. When you look at this decision to name Kyler Murray our starter, it becomes clear that we are entering a phase defined by the pursuit of immediate stability. The franchise is betting that a veteran arm can navigate a challenging start against the Packers and Bears without the volatility that sometimes accompanies a younger prospect. And I'll be straight with you, there is a certain peace of mind that comes with knowing exactly who will take that first snap, even if it feels like we are temporarily hitting the pause button on the future. You should feel a sense of cautious optimism, mainly because the coaching staff remains invested in the long-term growth of J.J. McCarthy despite this shift. By keeping his potential in the equation, the team avoids burning bridges while still prioritizing the win column this fall. It is a calculated move that buys us some breathing room to see how the offensive identity takes shape before the bye week arrives. We are essentially watching a high-stakes balancing act between needing to win right now and wanting to secure a foundational talent for the years ahead. This strategy shows the front office values our ability to remain competitive throughout the entire season rather than folding early. Every performance from here on out will be a referendum on whether this bridge gap approach can actually lead us to the playoffs, or if we will need to pivot back to our developmental timeline sooner. If the veteran falters, would you support putting the younger signal caller back in by the Week 7 meeting with the Colts? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Skol! I'll see you in the next one.